Thank you for being here. A special welcome to our guests. It's great to have you. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if Janine would come up to give us our invocation.
Will you bow your heads with me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come and to gather. We ask, Father God, a special blessing on each and every one who is here, either in person or virtually. We pray for those who cannot be with us. Lord God, at this moment, we ask for a special blessing of comfort and peace over one of our very own, Jerry Kuntz. We ask that right now, everyone be mindful of each other. We pray for our nation and the safety of those tomorrow who will be supporting the transition in authority. We ask that we all be mindful of each other and our opinions, and that we too will turn to you for guidance and discernment in the days ahead. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Janine. So we have many guests in the meeting today. We want to welcome you all. If any of our guests that are here are interested in joining Bradenton Kiwanis, please see any officer or our membership committee chair. Sharon is here today in the audience. We'd love to talk to you about joining. We have a great group here. Welcome to everyone who's here in person today. Please note the theater does have a mandate that masks are required to be worn. Please make sure to place your mask back on once you are done eating your meal. And thank you for making it easier for us to be able to have our meetings in person. The meetings are being held via Zoom and in person. If you want to attend a meeting live, please make sure to purchase a ticket through the box office by Friday at 5 o'clock the week before. They are $13.50. Let's see. The club will be having a board meeting on Wednesday, January 20th, which is tomorrow. It will be via Zoom. We will not be meeting in person at Pier 22, so you'll be getting a calendar invite if you're a board member to join us on Zoom tomorrow. Let's see. Neil, do you have any announcements? No, I know. I was going to see if I could convince Sharon to come up here and talk about the fair. Do you want to come and say a couple words about the fair?
We've had a great opportunity to have a Bradenton Kiwanis booth at the Bradenton County Fair. It's been an exciting opportunity for us to really get to meet people in the community. We've had a lot of people stop by. We've had prior scholarship winners. We've had some of the kids from 4-H stop by and wanted us to buy a swine or buy a steer. Just the excitement and energy of our young students in Manatee County has been rewarding beyond anything. There's still some empty slots if you'd like to go out with your masks and really make a difference in our community. Think about volunteering. It's out on the web portal. Thanks.
Thanks, Sharon. So yeah, they're having a lot of fun out there. So if you feel comfortable and you want to go out and work our booth, we would love to have more volunteers that could go out and greet people. Next, I'm going to ask Byron Shin, who's the chair of Bradenton Kiwanis Foundation, to come and give an update about our foundation.
We are getting some donations from various members, and we have done a few things in the past that I want to share with you the progress of the foundation. It goes back, and I was one of the original people that helped set it up. And so in 1998, it started with $8.5 million, and today it's at $13.8 million. When it started, the club was giving between $500,000 and $600,000 a year in charities, and that has gone down somewhat due to the fact that we had sold the trailer park, and now we are into a foundation environment. And so the cash flow and making sure that we continue to protect ourselves from inflation. We were focused on bricks and mortar at the time and scholarships, and at that time there weren't bright futures. So we were providing a huge opportunity for those underprivileged, financially unable to go to college. With Bright Futures, that's been filled. We've attempted a few things over the decades, and now we've donated more directly to where we can get match dollars, and we also get the support of other nonprofits that are doing that in a better way. The foundation started with trying to just be involved in investing and make charitable giving. Then we became a supporting organization, which was still watching the investments and had a joint committee to do the charity. Over time, we've moved, and the IRS has allowed it, so that we are now a foundation that looks over the investments for you, the club, and the club makes the charitable contributions. We're at a crossroads. We want to be maintaining a relevancy to our community. We tried previously with various efforts to have a director, executive director, the development officer, and in that history we really didn't have the support of the club, in my opinion. So what we're undertaking is a joint effort with the full involvement of both boards, and then come to the full membership with a mission and a vision that we all buy into. And then whether or not we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, or if we're going to do something a little bit bigger and grander. Because there wasn't the Children's Advisory Board with their multi-million-dollar funding. There wasn't the community foundations that are now giving millions and millions of dollars. Yet we still have our dollars here, and we want to stay relevant. And we have impact that we can make a difference. So Dave Bassett, I got about a minute left. So I took Dave Bassett's 5 pages and I got it down to 2 paragraphs. That takes some editing, so gold star. So I'm going to quote him. So the question before us is, do we, as a club, want status quo with about 12 million in assets, drawing about 500,000 albeit slowly growing with inflation, and an occasional major gift? Or do we want to capitalize on our almost 100-year track record of meeting the unmet needs of our community and grow our foundation to better meet those needs? Rest assured, your foundation would never consider such an undertaking again without the full support of the members. So some of the things we've done in the first quarter, we voted to create an endowment fund. We decided the foundation would not charge the endowment fund, any of those endowment funds, for any additional oversight fees. So the only fees that they will have would be the direct cost of the investment advisors and the management oversight of those dollars. No admin, which is about 1 to 1.5% that most other foundations have. So that is a significant impact to the net dollars that can be paid out. And then the other thing we've done is we've said the smaller donations, we're taking those, and now instead of that going into, it now goes to pay overhead. So that those dollars that we are getting can go toward our charitable function. So those $100 gifts, yes, they're very important, but we're trying to make it so we can attract other dollars. So we have a joint meeting of the boards coming up. We're going to discuss this. We've asked Karen Holbrook of USF and one of the key development officers, Lee, who's been at some of these meetings, to come and talk to both boards. And then after that, we'll come to the full membership. We'll have a question and answer session. We'll talk about what we want to do. And if it's something the club wants to do, we'll move forward. It's been very, very painful to watch all the energy and effort that various people have made to this point. And we want to make sure we got we have to have our wind in our sails, and we have to be downhill on this. So, go Bucks.
Thank you, Byron. And I would like to encourage all of our members that, this is our foundation. We should be contributing to our foundation. So please remember it in your charitable giving. Like Byron said, we've made a huge change in our foundation that as you donate to it, it doesn't go into the pool that is the 4% that comes out anymore. It now goes as a direct donation that frees dollar for dollar to go into our charitable giving in the current year. So it's a great change that we've made to help get dollars into the community currently and not going forward for our donations that we make into our own foundation. Okay, So now, before we have Gilbert and Jean come up here and take over, I have one small announcement that's all mine. So I am bringing forward a contest, I love contests, to the club membership. Each year, the president of the club is allotted a small charitable fund out of charitable donations. It's about $20,000. So, my love of contests, a couple weeks ago when we did the donut eating contest, that came out of my president's fund. I almost feel like giving Brett something.
And those dollars were matched.
And those dollars were matched. Oh, well, that's nice. I didn't know that part. So, here is the contest. As we attend programs and attend service projects each month, as you attend, Mac and I have figured this out, your name is going to go into a bucket. And at the end of the month, that bucket, if you go to 4 meetings, your name will be in there 4 times. At the end of the month, I, as president, will pull a name out of the bucket. And that club member will get to make a charitable contribution out of my president's fund of $2,000 to a 501c3 charity that meets the parameters of our mission of the success of families and children. I do have first right of refusal, because I have to make sure it's within the mission. You got to be thinking of what charity would you get, what charity for kids and families would you give it to. You have to do your research of that charity too. It needs to stay within Manatee County. And then that club member is going to come before the club at the podium or on Zoom and share with us why they chose that charity and what that charity does in our community. So it's a great contest, gets everybody involved, and it's also going to be educational where we're going to educate ourselves about different charities in the community. Now, there is one more caveat that my officers don't like. They aren't eligible. So we go to everything. That would be unfair. I got a lot of frowny faces in that meeting. So I kind of feel like Alex Trebek, Charity Jeopardy. So I want you guys to have fun with it and learn with it, but that's what we're going to do. So make sure you sign up, make sure you get your name on the attendance sheet, because we're going to have fun with this. And with that, I will turn it over to Gilbert for history.
Last week, we were talking about 1946, so now we're in 1947, and the United States is working on a strategy against Russia, which has now become the enemy after World War II because of the aggressive action that it is taking against other European countries. President Truman appoints General George Marshall as Secretary of State, and the Truman Doctrine is announced, and threatened communist occupation of Greece and Turkey is stopped. Now the slide I've got up there for you to see is, I want you to take a good look at that. This is 1947, and this is the shoreline of Bradenton looking east. And so study that for a minute to see if you can find the Pier Restaurant and the Green Bridge on that.
There you go.
Because we're going to be talking about this shoreline for several weeks as things are going to change in Bradenton. You can go to the next slide, Janine.
Yes, sir.
Here's another photo of the same thing, and this is looking west. So you see the hospital there, that white sort of in the middle, there it is. There's the hospital. So just remember those as we talk about this today and in later weeks. Now here is the photo of the toll station in Cortez before you cross the bridge to Bradenton Beach. In 1947, there's only one bridge to Anna Maria Island, and this is it. Hard to believe, isn't it? You'll go to the next slide. Now this is a photo of a Kiwanis meeting on December 12th, 1967. And even though we're in 1947, I wanted to show this because this is when the mayor, Sterling Hall, was retiring. And you can see a few people in there we know. We know Judge Hensley there to the left. That's the lady in it is Mrs. Hall. And then on her, off her shoulder is Mayor Arbuckle. I'm not sure who the man is on the right-hand side, but if you can identify him, we need to know that. Now I want to tell you a little bit about Sterling Hall. On January 7th, 1947, this club, at the Ladies' Night Installation Dinner at the Bradenton Country Club, elected, or watched, he had already been elected, watched Sterling Hall become the next president of Kiwanis. And there were 85 people in attendance. And let me tell you a little bit about Sterling Hall. He was born in Kentucky and raised in that community. He went to college at Bethel Junior College and began teaching school, following in his father's footsteps. In 1932, he moved to Bradenton and began to work with the Manatee Ice and Coal Storage Company, eventually becoming the general manager. He also served as vice president of the Bradenton Ice Delivery Company and executive vice president of the Palmetto Ruskin Ice Company. He became a leader in the state of Florida in the ice industry. And for those of you that grew up here, you knew that that's where you went to get ice a lot of times, in downtown Bradenton, when you're about to have a party. While Sterling was serving as the president of the club, the year that he served as president, he started campaigning and became the mayor of Bradenton. And he became one of the most outstanding mayors of Bradenton. And so at the time that he was active in this club, he served Bradenton for 20 years, which of course gave a lot of influence to this club because he was such an active member. Some things about him, about his administering to the city. He was interested in keeping Bradenton a wholesome community for families and a lot of programs for children. But he was also pro-business, and under his administration, the downtown grew and really flourished. But he was also somewhat progressive because he saw something that happening in advance, and he was actually so far ahead of his time that things didn't change for a while, but he attempted to improve relations between minorities and other citizens. He tried to eliminate Jim Crow laws, which we'll talk about in later times, and he formed a biracial committee with minorities. Again, he went on to serve for 20 years. If you could go to the next slide, Janine. Now this is in 1947 and 48. It goes into his term. I just wanted to show you this because the idea was happening in 1947. And this is what what will be referred to, a lot of us that grew up here will know as the sand pile. This is the first plans in 1947 to develop the shoreline a lot differently than what it was at the time. And the next slide, Janine. I'm jumping far ahead, but again, we're going to talk about this. This is the shoreline after it had been completed almost 25 years later. Now you can leave that up, Janine.
Sorry.
Well, that's fine. You can, whatever you want to do. After a successful career, I did want to tell you that Sterling Hall died in 1987 at age 78. And he was quite an important mayor that we've had in the city, and I believe that our mayor that's here today will follow in the footsteps of such a great mayor. This, go to the next slide, Janine. Now, this is an interesting story. Bradenton High School and Palmetto High School in 1947, into the year that went into 1948, were consolidated. And many residents of Palmetto were upset about this. And they were so upset about it that a group went to Hillsborough County Commission meeting to see if they could succeed from Manatee County, the city of Palmetto. They were so upset about it. Well, after a few months, and Hillsborough County wasn't interested, they resolved that dispute, and then the Manatee County High School put out a lot of great football teams, and one of our presidents, Wheeler Leaf, we're going to learn about real soon, was the coach at that time. Now, I've told you that many members of the club were doing a lot of things for the community at that time, and I'm going to have one other story, and then we're going to go to the mayor. And that is past president Dr. Sugg, Dr. William Sugg, and Dr. Blake. And you'll remember that now we have Blake Hospital, they donated together 25 acres of land on the south side of the mouth of the Manatee River, which will become DeSoto Memorial Park. And we're going to talk about that more in some meetings that are going to be coming up. Then in December 1947, William Day was elected president for the 1948, and we'll learn more about that next week. Just like I've been talking about the Bradenton Kiwanis Club, and our history is also the history of Bradenton, the city of Bradenton. And this club's worked side by side with the city on many projects, some big projects, some huge projects, and some small projects. And as we celebrate our 100th year in just 18 months, we are going to ask the mayor to be a part of that. We're going to ask the city to be a part of that. We have 2 members on the Bradenton City Council, Bill Saunders and Jane Coker, and we want them all to be a part of it. Now watch this slideshow, if you would, and I'm going to go through all the mayors to show you. You'll recognize these names of Mayor Cornwell and Mayor Wyman, who became part of Wyman, Green, and Blaylock. That's the family. George Wallace, then Mayor Burney, Mayor Simpsons, and Mayor Glacier Stevens. And at that point, I want to tell you that Bradenton was really developing there. There was not a lot of photos of a lot of people, and the town was really developing. But when we all know from their history here that in 1913 we got a new courthouse, and things were starting to develop with the sewer lines, with the water lines, with paved roads, with brick roads. So things were starting to modernize. You can go to the next slide, Janine. Now here's one of our prominent members, Everett P. Green Jr. And he, of course, the Green Bridge is named after him. He didn't serve as president of the club, but he was a leader not only in the club, but also in the city, of course. Whitney Curry, also an interesting guy who actually, there's many photos of him because he actually had a garage and he built some of the race cars that we've heard stories about, of racing from Tampa to Bradenton. So his garage was actually, he had one near where Council's Pool Hall was. Now Gabby Knowles, Gordon Brown, Gabby Knowles, I've talked about before. He was our president. He was a prominent member of this club for many years. He was a lawyer in town. He was president of the Manatee County Bar Association at one time as part of the Knowles family, and he, of course, served as mayor of Bradenton. Sibley White, another president of our club. He was a lawyer in town. He was president of the Manatee County Bar Association also. And at the same time he was president of this club, he was also president of that bar association, which is a big job. Albert Sparks, what are we saying here, Janine? Not a Kiwanian? This is a group photo because I will ask you, as I've asked before, as I'm going through research, it's hard to find photos. So as I'm going through my research, as I'm talking about things, if you ever find photos of anybody that I'm talking about, I would appreciate you giving them to somebody in the club. Charles Ward, another president. He was the manager of the Dixie Grand Hotel. He was a mayor, and then he resigned to join the war and go off to work in the war, and then he came back and he won again. White and Troughton, another president of the club. And I want you'll notice that so many of these people that were presidents of the club had been members, but some people that weren't president and mayors were also members of this club for quite a period of time. Sterling Hall, that I just talked about, and after Sterling Hall was Bucky Arbuckle, and following him was Mayor Leach, Albert Leach. Does everybody know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. That's a young Chip Shore right there.
Really?
And yes, he does look like Mr. Rogers. not Mr. Shore, but. And Bill Evers. Bill Evers was a regular at our club. And of course, next, Wayne Poston was a member of the club. We are delighted to have Mayor Gene Brown with us today. He's a longtime member of this club and a friend. He's the third mayor in 40 years that we've had, and we expect he's going to be in that position as long as he wants to be. He grew up in Bradenton, graduated from Bayshore High School and Manatee Community College. For some of you, it's known as State College of Florida. He attended Mars Hill College and graduated from Gupton Jones College. And he's a businessman in the community as the vice president and the chief operating officer of Brown & Sons Funeral Home and Crematory. And we're going to invite him to participate, as well anybody with the city, of our 100th year anniversary. And we'd also like to ask him to come back every year to give us a State of the City address. So at this time, please join me in warm welcome of Mayor Gene Brown.
Thank you, Judge. And first off, I would not be standing up here without this club, and I'm going to tell you why. In 1975, I walked into a boys' club on 34th Street, and that changed my life. It actually made me who the person I am today, going through with the staff. And as we know, this club is what originally started the boys' club, and now it's the Boys and Girls Clubs. So, you know, thank you to all of the past members and current members for what you've done for our community and you continue to do. In probably about 1985, when I was graduating high school and I was elected the last Boy of the Year, then it went after that to Youth of the Year, a little bit more politically correct as we've gone forward. But, you know, those moments are what sticks out, and the Kiwanis Club was always talked about through that. So, you know, those years of my life were so important to me to make me what I'm able to do today and give back to our community. Because without people that are willing to give their time, we wouldn't be anything in Bradenton, and that's very important. Kind of when Judge Smith called me, there was a couple other events that people asked me to come to, and I thought, well, 2 weeks on the job, I want to learn a little bit. And, you know, there is a learning curve, because obviously you have no boss, you have no job description, you just kind of learn as you go. So when I look out at Byron, you know, do I only have 3 minutes? So, I'm just kidding. But, you know, Byron's been a part of my life through the Boys and Girls Club, as Janine and a lot of people that aren't in this room but probably watching. So, you know, you just look back, and that's what makes me proud to be where I'm at today. And what we can do for this community is help grow what's already been done. You look at the mayors, and you really think about it. Since 1974, we've had 3 mayors that served 61 of those, or 47, I'm sorry. In those 73 years, we've had 3 mayors. 61 of those 73 years have been 3 people that changed and transformed this community. And the one thing you did say, Gilbert, you know, is I could be here as long as I want. That's as long as my wife lets me. So, we do appreciate it, and we're actually starting out now, you know, 1 term at a time. That's going to be important because Bradenton is in a good place. But how do we grow Bradenton? And that's going to be one of the things important to me. We see some adventures happening. We had a big thing come up to us last week about some workforce type attainable housing. You know, and so that's going to be important as we do those projects, some infill projects, some areas of the city, how we grow. And a lot of questions come up to me where, why is downtown so important? Well, if you look at any city's downtown, that helps the whole city. And that's going to be important as we grow it to do the proper things, and that growth is inevitable, but how do we do that? And I'm going to bring to this council in the next 6 months, which we have a great council. Very excited to be working with the Historic Council. It's the first time we've ever had 3 females on the council. And a question came to me from a reporter that was kind of a loaded question about, you know, when you resigned on June 10th, there was 5 males on the council and a male for mayor. When you take office January 5th, there's going to be 3 women. And he looked at me and he had this look on his face and he said, how are you going to handle that? So I kind of looked at him and I thought to myself, you know, my mom's a woman, my wife's a woman, and my daughter's a woman. And it doesn't matter male or female. We had 5 people that ran for a council that won, and then the citizens voted it in. So again, we may not always politically agree on things, and that's okay. But we have to respect each other, we have to work together, and for the good of the citizens. And every one of our council people, as well as I, have a good heart for our city. So, you know, again, I have some ideas, and I'm not going to spill them all now because I don't want to ruin it for the council. But as we go through the next few months, it's about, you know, I don't want to say necessarily revitalizing, but vitalizing new things for our urban core, which will then grow our city. One of my big things has always been infrastructure. You know, we are a 117-year-old city. I think we still have some 117-year-old pipes in places. So, you know, how are we going to handle that? Being business friendly, being tax friendly. We're not, you know, we can work through it. And that's one of the things that I felt through my 7.5 years on the council, that we were able to start some of those processes in our city to grow roads, infrastructure, stormwater, without raising your taxes. That's very important. Some of the good things going on, our streetscape is finally getting to come to an end. There's going to be some good things downtown. You'll see some of the final touches, and it's exciting for our businesses. You know, our hotels love it. We've got 2 great hotels right downtown, a third one just a little bit off on the sand pile, which that's what I grew up, Judd Smith, with the sand pile, and that's actually developing now more than we can. There's some other opportunity to grow some more restaurants on the sand pile. It's going to be a big impact, I think. Possibly some more dock space right on the Riverwalk. You know, that's going to be important, I believe, as we go forward. You look at our Riverwalk East, that's a historic area, the Riverwalk East. It's going to be a challenge to get it connected so we have one continuous Riverwalk, but you're going to see probably over the next 6 months or so, I think some of that construction will start. COVID obviously slowed us a little bit, but that'll start, and hopefully within the next 18 to 24 months, 3 of the 4 phases will be done. You know, and that's going to be very fun to see, and walking and seeing how that grows. One of the exciting things when you're walking Riverwalk and you're out there, you see a lot of people that aren't from here, and you can tell by their just look. You know, we're not a San Antonio type Riverwalk where, you know, it's a little different. We actually true river, so now how do we grow that with residents and kids and different things on that? One of the things I do want to, Janita brought it up earlier, to pray for all of our officers. We have 25 officers at the inauguration, which there is some cities in this area that pulled out, you know, and working with our chief and that, I thought it was important that we still go because our officers were excited about it and to do something, you know. It's outside the politics part of it. It's an honor to go do something and be in Washington inauguration, because sometimes it's once in a lifetime type situation for some of these officers. So we want to wish them safety and good health and then travel back when they get here. They did arrive safely, and it's exciting to see that. Some of the other things, let me get my list out here. So, look at it. We are working with our CRAs. The council just hired a CRA director. We are going to have some restructuring. We have, obviously, Carl Callahan retiring at the end of June. You know, Carl Callahan knows everything in the city and is a great steward of our city. You know, he's been here for 25 years, worked probably a few years before that as in the accounting before he actually came on as the city clerk and treasurer and now as our administrator. You don't lose somebody and replace that person without losing a lot. You know, and again, that's some of the things as an elected official, I believe we need to try to work in some way, keep Carl around so we can keep the budgeting going and how to work things. But as we transition, this council is going to have to work hard to figure out to keep the city going in the right direction, because it's going up right now. Let's keep it going. We are in the process of looking for a new planning director, even though City Hall's been open through the whole process, through COVID and that. We're going to keep working to make that better. We're actually building one new fire station right now that they tore down over by Blake Hospital. That's going to be very important to get that back open as it goes. That was built with your sales tax dollars. So I know there's a lot of people that aren't always for adding taxes, but we're able to do that through the city without raising your taxes. So some of the tax dollars, and that's what the city's done a great job at, and we're going to continue. We also are going to replace Station 2, which I think some of the people have to walk through somebody's sleeping quarters to get to a certain bathroom, and so a lot of logistics that you work through. A lot of these things that, I've learned a lot that I didn't know I'd be doing 2 weeks ago, we go through it. As you look, we're trying to make it more friendly for our citizens through COVID. We've learned a lot, and so paying bills, simple things that you think about, going through it. So the city is working to get better. And again, that goes into management, kind of infrastructure things, and as we work through, it's going to be better. Probably the last thing is, when we look out, volunteerism is important. We have a lot of city boards that now I have to try to find people and appoint. So if I reach out to you, take my phone call. I might be asking you to help out on a city board. There's some boards that meet very infrequently, some that do it, but some of the different boards can actually help improve the city. And when you're going through, I think there's a CRA boards that are a little bit different than they were in the past, but we still need input from our citizens. And let me see here if there's anything else. One of the big things that I think is going to help improve our community, through our police department, we have implemented body cameras. They are going to come out very shortly. The officers, hopefully by, I think in February, the chief said, will have all those cameras. There's controversy about cameras and officers wearing them, but my biggest thing was, and through the campaign, was to talk about how it can help improve relations. Bradenton has pretty good relations, but there's always ways we can improve. Now, as being kind of over the police department, it will protect not only the citizens, the officers, and our city, but the biggest thing is, it's going to make the transparency be there so we can work together. It's not about one community or one ward or one some person over another. It's about how you work together and make things better. I know we have a lot of great people watching, a lot of great people in this room, and we want to continue it going forward. Pretty much as we go forward, I look forward to working with this club and making it better. I don't know that I'll be a 20-year mayor, but I'm going to be a hardworking mayor during the time that we're here, and that's important to me. And we've had some great mayors, and they've done some great things, and I hope to at least scratch the surface in that with them. So thank you very much, and I'll answer any questions if anybody has one.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I know you just appointed a new, or there's been a board for the police department. Is that an advisory board that has come up? Can you talk about that?
There was a board appointed by Mayor Poston, an advisory board for the police department. And some of that is the relationships, trying to work things out. And what they'll do is they'll look at past cases and see how the city can improve, the police department can improve, and work through things and find ways to make things better. They actually meet tomorrow night, the second time, and I really think the first meeting I was at, they had, they kind of learning curve, but really trying to improve relations, and that's going to be important to go forward, and I'm very supportive of continuing with that.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, do we have any other questions? Andy?
Mr. Mayor, with the property downtown, the old City Hall property, and some of the properties on 14th Street, have there been any proposals to develop those properties?
Okay, on 14th Street, where the old Manatee's Inns is, there's already a project going through. I would think within the next few months, there's going to be some groundbreaking on that. It's going to be some affordable housing there, attainable type affordable housing. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, almost 300 units for rental type, for that area. On Old City Hall, that's a county-owned property now, so we're hoping that, I know there's some movement, I've heard some things, that there's some talk going on with the county to purchase that and possibly develop that. Then some of the other properties around town are already, you saw what happened last week with 920 on there with the old Southeast Bank building and First Union building, whatever they went over the years, to do, I think, 123 units of attainable workforce. That's very important, and I do believe in any type of relationship that comes forward to us, there's a give and take with the city. Because right now, there is zero tax dollars coming in from properties like that. So if the city can invest a small portion for a short time, it can then make a long-term investment to come back to the city. Not only do you maybe give up some impact fees possibly give up a little TIF money, taxes that will go for a short time, and then all of a sudden, 5 to 7 years, you have money coming in where more than likely, if you do nothing to help those type of projects, it's still sitting there bringing in zero tax dollars. So you got to look at what's happening. There's been some great research done on who wants to live downtown, and maybe everyone in this room and everyone listening, we like to pull up to our garage, get out, walk into our house, and then on the weekends mow, do the different things and different activities you have to do. The younger generation, they don't want any of that, and they don't even want to drive as much, and they want different things. We might have wanted a pool on something like that, but they want to have a fire pit and more internet access so they can do things. So you have to change, and I think that's important what we see some of our developers do, and we have to buy in together. There's a cost factor to everybody, but if we do nothing, we have the same thing 10 years from now. And we've got to work together and be proactive. And I think the type of attainable housing you're looking at, you want to get your beginning teachers, your beginning firefighters, your beginning nurses, your beginning police officers that want to be in a downtown structure. That's important. So how do we make that happen without, selling the farm for nothing? Yes, ma'am.
As you're growing in the city and building units that will house 300 people, are there also plans already in place for the infrastructure? That's a lot more people hitting that roadway right there at 41 and 14th Avenue West. And I'm just trying to envision how that's going to flow.
Right, and that's important because a lot of it, what we're hoping, and you see it a lot, where you're not having to give the number of parking spaces because a lot of them don't have 2 cars. They want to work in more of a downtown type availability. Obviously, transportation is the biggest issue we deal with, and where to get, how to get there, and how to not get there if you don't want to go on the main roads. And again, a lot of us that have lived there our whole lives know those little secrets. But when traffic's backed up, you've got to figure it. That's what I've got a great relationship with Mayor Bryant, working on the MPO to really structure things. One of my first things was to ask our chief to really look at our traffic flow, because I've heard that the whole time I was on the council, traffic in, traffic out. Obviously, with the volume in the mornings, we know it's going to be busy coming over the Green Bridge coming in. But look at how it is when people are leaving, going over the Green Bridge to get home. It's the same way going that way. So a lot of people are coming to our town and going through our town. So it's going to be very important that we work through a lot of the strategic planning over the next several years. And I think it's going to be crucial the next 2 to 3 years working through the MPO, which basically does the regional traffic plan with our county commissioners and going through that. Again, we're bringing people down. We're hoping they work and play downtown where they don't have to get in their car. Yeah. And that's going to be very important. But you still have to work on the structure and some of that. And again, I think if you do one area, hopefully it'll grow to the next area. And then we're going to be working through different public-private partnerships. I think that's huge to work through public-private partnerships because government can't do it all.
Do you have any other questions for Mayor Brown?
We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
So, on behalf of Bradenton Kiwanis, we would like to present you with the golden ruler to measure the city and your future success with.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm just going to say this is the 3rd one I've got, and the other 2 are in my office at City Hall. So that's how important the Kiwanis Project is.
I know Sharon's over there waiting with bated breath for you to reinstate. I'm also glad you can take a joke. So I want to thank all of our guests that are here today visiting with us. And to remind everyone, we have a club board meeting tomorrow. It is going to be via Zoom. You'll get a link this afternoon and a calendar invite. And then also next week, our meeting on January 26th is David Clement. He is a former editorial page editor of the Bradenton Herald for over 30 years. He's going to be talking about his new book, Conscience of the Community. So I hope you can join us here again next week. Mac, do you have
No, I was
something?
just gonna say, he's in the audience.
Oh, well, good, David. We look forward to hearing you next week. And we hope to see everyone soon. And make sure you buy your tickets if you're coming live by Friday at 5 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned.